What is Morgellons?
Cube, spaceships, monsters, and all those other things.
Hear that? Peace and quiet. That's pretty much what I've been doing for the last, I'd say month or so. I mean, I could check the dates and find out how long, but it seems like about a month. Feeling really good. I'm rested. I just had to get away from everything. It's been a pretty interesting couple of years for me. And I got tired from it. You know, not only did I get over the illness myself, but I kind of made it my mission to help as many people as I could, and I finally just kind of hit the wall on that about a month ago. I had to kind of shut down the group page that I was running on Facebook for new comments, because there was already tons of information there that anybody can go through and just read, and they can see that other people followed suit with what I did and got well, and everything's great, you know, but I was just exhausted. I'm doing a lot better now, though. I've been out to visit friends and do a few things of interest to me. Some friends of mine moved to Colorado Springs, and so we drove up and saw them, got a little fresh air, and hung out with some good people. I think you're pretty cool. Hey, there's my wife. The backyard is cloudy. In hindsight, this whole experience has just been incredible, and I kind of realize, you know, I'm a couple years down the road from learning that SSKI would beat the condition and all of that, and I'm doing fabulous. I still have a few things poking out here and there, but I had the condition so long that doesn't surprise me. Physically, I'm very well, but I still, you know, got a little spot right here. A fiber popped out of my forehead. Whatever. It's not making me sick, and that's the important thing. I kind of wanted to talk about an idea, though, that was presented to me by a guy that he contacts me every now and then to let me know how he's doing. And I guess that's another reason I haven't been making any videos, because, like I always say, I can only make video about what I'm doing, and what I've been doing in the last year really has been involving other people, and so I can't really tell their stories, you know, because they're not mine to tell, and you know, ethics and all that. But I don't think this guy will mind me sharing this little bit of his experience. He's the worst I've ever seen. The worst case of this Morgellons condition, or whatever you want to call it. He was just torn up with it, like, massively. He sent me pictures, and it was like, oh my God, you know. And that's why I had to take the break, because people were constantly sending me pictures of their condition, and, you know, I was helping them the best I could to understand how to use SSKI, and it was really hard on me, you know, because I care, I really do. But anyway, this one particular guy, I know him through friends, and he's kind of kept his condition a secret, because he doesn't want to go through the stigma of, oh, you're crazy, and whatever, you know, that people do when you have things blowing out of your skin. Anyway, he's taking SSKI very successfully, and he's also under the care of a doctor. So he's taking some other medications as well. I'm telling you, it's the worst case of this I've ever seen. I mean, big holes in this guy that made the big hole in my arm seem like nothing. And anyway, he was telling me about his experiences with the doctor, and some months back he said to me that his doctor suggested that possibly the fungal condition had been in his system since he was a little kid. It had been in his system his whole life, and it just suddenly got to the point where it overtook him all at once. And I didn't disregard that, of course. You know, I'm open to any thoughts anybody has had on this stuff. I mean, short of things I just don't believe, you know. I don't think anybody's been visited by aliens and injected with nanorobots. I don't think anybody's got, you know, government engineered worms or whatever. And I don't say that stuff to be insulting to people. I just simply don't believe it, you know. And I think that it's harmful, all this stuff that has grown up around us, what I believe to be a simple enough fungal condition, that it's just made all of this so much more difficult than it ever needed to be, you know. Anyway, this guy told me that, you know, his doctor felt like, or suggested that this could have been in his system since he was a kid, some little incident when he was a kid, and then it suddenly just got to the point where it could overtake him all at once. And it made me think, you know, about, nobody seems to know the origin story of this, and the, oh God, it's been nearly 20 years since I've been talking to people about this subject very quietly, and in the places where that happens. And nobody can track down anything we have in common. There's no like origin story or anything, and it kind of stuck with me, you know. And on that trip to Colorado, I rode in my friend's convertible for a while through the mountains. Not long, maybe 20 minutes or so, and you know, I was clear of the condition at that point. And what happened is my skin dried out, and I had a breakout. It wasn't anything active or anything, but just all of a sudden my forehead peeled, and I had spots all over my forehead where things had come out. And that happened in my arms and just various places where all of a sudden I was having to pull this stuff out again, you know. And not the live growth stuff, you know, the long, skinny, fungal growth things that people think are worms, but just various fibers and things that had been very deep in my skin. And there were fungal growths, but they were dead, you know, they'd been there a long, long time. They were very deep in my skin. What intrigued me about it, though, was this idea of biofilm, you know, and apparently my forehead was covered in biofilm for a long, long time. And, you know, I didn't necessarily know anything about biofilm, still don't, honestly, to tell you the truth. But I understand that there's a situation in this condition where the growths do create a covering, you know. On a smaller scale, think of it as that callus. But apparently it can, like, actually just cover skin in like, large sheets. And anyway, my forehead had done that, and I had no idea. And that's kind of a clue to where I'm going here, is I went home. We'd been up there for, I think we spent a week up in Colorado with our friends, and, you know, I kind of nursing myself and not trying to ruin the party by looking like a, you know, something was wrong with me. My friends all know about my condition anyway. They're very cool, but the thing is, we got home and I'm nursing this stuff, and it starts coming out in more places, and I'm like, what happened? You know, the dry mountain air or what? I don't know. But then something that fascinates me happened. My whole life I've had this scar on the back of my hand. It was a circle. It happened when I was 6 years old in a bicycle accident. It was the most traumatic experience of my young life, believe me. Showing off on a bicycle, and I wrecked hard. I mean hard. And I still remember it because I had not only the hole on my hand, but I had one in my knee, There was a third one, I think, maybe on the back of this hand or whatever. And we're talking about, oh, if I was 7 years old, that would have been 1970. And we lived in Tacoma, Washington at that time. And on our weekends, we would go out to the country. My parents had bought 5 acres. During the 60s, you know, the big cities were a little scary. So my parents said, okay, well, we're gonna transition out of here and go to a small town. We're going to the country, whatever. And we wound up on some Mount Rainier View property, and we would go out there every weekend clearing property and stuff. And this traumatic experience of my youth, it seemed like those wounds just did not heal. I mean, I still remember just being amazed how long it took for those to heal. And I've had a reminder my whole life, this round scar. Well, I can't help but wonder now if there's not a relationship there, because after we got home, this scar exploded and all kinds of dead fungal material came out of it, fibers and dried dead growths and things. And I can't help but wonder if that's not the origin of my fungal infection, relating to what the doctor told my friend of, oh, you've possibly had this in your system your whole life and it finally grew to where it could overcome you, you know. I've read that the point of origin of the infection is going to be the last to heal, and this was the last thing that broke on my body, and all this stuff came out. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that idea that possibly that's why we don't have an origin story, is that everybody's different, and it happened so long ago that we have no reason to remember it. I have other clues that make me tend to believe that. We did eventually move to that property. It would have been 1973 when I was 10. So we spent roughly 5 years working that property. And one of my favorite things to do there was a lot of hazelnut plants, and they're stocky things, they're huge, you know, but we had to cut those out, and I liked doing it for, I guess because it pleased my parents and I was good at it. I was small enough to get in there and cut all these wooden stalks, but they were covered in this fungal growth that was also intriguing. You throw it in the fire and it would make this squealing noise, and that property was, you know, basically untouched property. We were 8 miles from the nearest town, but it had been logged. The old growth forest had been logged off of there sometime in the previous 100 years, and there were stacks of lumber, sawn lumber, like where they sawed the side off of a log and you've got that little half round piece that's flat on one side. There were lumber mills literally set up on this property at some time in the past, and there were big pits that were full of sawdust. And all of this stuff, you know, we're talking western Washington rainforest, was very fungus covered. I mean, every bit of it. And here I am, a kid with open sores playing in this stuff. I used to dig tunnels in the sawdust pits. And I remember like yesterday coming into patches of white fungus and all this big wood sawdust like you would have from a sawmill. And anyway, that's kind of on my mind, and I wanted to share that idea that, you know, the origin of this stuff, I mean, I absolutely don't believe that there's any of the stuff, you know, the government conspiracy, any of this stuff. I just don't. I don't have any reason to believe that. And, I mean, if it were true, wouldn't they have come and got me already? It's just like the people telling me that homemade guns were illegal. You know, I did a lot of that work, and I knew the law. And I promised those people nobody's coming to get me because there's nothing here that's, you know, illegal or whatever. And of course they never did come get me for that. And likewise, nobody's after me for having proven that SSKI gets rid of this Morgellons condition. So there's nobody that cares. I mean, the only people that have cared are the people who rely on the existence of that condition for their livelihood or whatever. I've been under a lot of attack for that from, you know, the internet level trolls that run their sites or whatever. I don't care about them. But even more interestingly is that I've contacted people who should care. I've contacted people who are involved in foundations and things of that nature relating to this condition, and told them, hey, I have really figured something out here, and a saturated solution of potassium iodide absolutely works. We've proven it hundreds of times at this point, you know, so I feel like it's safe to absolutely say that. And I didn't hear back from any of those people. So, you know, they're not so much about your well-being and getting rid of this condition possibly as much as they're interested in making sure that their foundation stays profitable. Foundations, I'm not talking about any groups in particular or specifically. I don't care about throwing stones. My point here today is just that about the origin of this. You know, I really think about that incident when I was a little kid, and you know, it's enough I still remember it, you know, the slow healing sores and all of that, and the fact that we were going out to the country. Anyway, I guess I better wrap this off. I just wanted to share all these thoughts with anybody that's still looking for information regarding the Morgellons condition. Let you know that hundreds of people are just fine now. I mean, I know personally of that many that I've dealt with, coaching them through how to figure all this out for themselves, so that I'm not playing doctor. I'm just helping them to the clues so they can figure it out on their own, and encouraging them to get someone else well so that all of this can get out. And I feel like it is quite effectively becoming common knowledge, and you know, all the haters have lost. And let's see, I guess that's it. You know, a lot of people are okay, and I'm gonna, like I say, I've been sitting around for about a month, just not necessarily sitting around, but just having some me time, you know. And I don't know, I'm just kind of looking to the future again. You know, I like to do that. I'm looking forward to doing it in good health, though. So I'm going to be quitting smoking, and me and this chair are going to have to get a divorce. But anyway, I know this is a long rambler, and I apologize for that, but there are people that are going to get information out of this that's going to give them that aha moment, and so that's why I did it. I'll see you soon. You know, I appreciate you. This has been really hard, a really hard couple of years, but it's been the greatest thing I've ever gotten to be involved in, and I owe thanks to an awful lot of people. So, hey, thanks to you. You may or may not know who you are, but you've been a big help to me. Thank you. I'll see you soon.